Good evening, everybody. It is Sunday, July 1st, 6:05 p.m. I'm Adela.
I'm Dan.
And you're listening to the Underbelly Hours.
Take off your coat, stay a while!
Like listening to new music? Want to know a band before they get popular? Tune into the Underbelly Hours, Sunday nights at 6 p.m. on WRSC 88.7 FM, and discover the best of local, unsigned musicians. Don't miss out on the next big thing. Thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. We've got a pretty special month coming up. If you're listening for the first time, this is the Underbelly Hours. This is a segment where Dan and I talk about local music, local events, and all stuff happening around Chicagoland pretty much.
For sure.
So this month, July, is Yesfest month, exactly. So at the end of the month, there is a fantastic festival happening in Elmhurst called Yesfest. It's been happening since 2013. But this year was the first year that we're having over 75 artists performing on 3 stages across 3 days. It is a lot of music, a lot of awesome bands, and we want to show you guys some of these bands before their appearance at the end of the month.
Yeah.
So
this entire month is dedicated to Yesfest artists. So
exactly.
We'll try and still fit in some new music, but a lot of it's going to be coming straight from the Yesfest artists, and then all of our guests this month will be from the festival.
I just did a fist thing, and then nobody,
there it is,
nobody,
in the air.
Nobody saw me though, because
yeah, it's probably good that nobody saw you.
True.
Sorry.
All right,
I'm back.
First musician that we have up for you guys is the R.A.M. We're gonna spin a tune by him. He is a young rapper out of Elmhurst who started rapping over instrumental tracks in high school, and has since released singles, EPs, and an album. One of the tracks of which, SoCal, reached over 400,000 views recently on Spotify, which is
nice.
Congratulations, Dom. That's fantastic. And he recently released a album with a group called Rappers Anonymous. Let's take a listen right now. This is No Friends by Rappers Anonymous featuring the R.A.M. on WRSC.
Shot if it's aimless. You cannot steal what's stainless. Remy got you outrageous. I could make your bitch famous. Look, I don't count my money, I count milestones. I don't count my buddies, I count dial tones. Ay, circle small, you couldn't see it with a microscope. I've come to peace with knowing that I'm about to die alone. Yeah, making use of solemn time. Organizing shots at Columbine. I don't really fuck with nobody, ain't nobody really qualified. Everybody about jazz, I don't really slow dance. White fits, no pants, hard song romance. I get the weight and I move it, whipping the blunt therapeutic. I wanna get 2 bricks, but you fucking cubes like a Rubik's. Remy, he could never do it. I do it solo, I prove it. Remy, he could never do it. I do it solo, I prove it. No friends, no friends, no friends, no friends, no friends, no friends. No friends, no friends, no friends, no friends, no friends, no friends, no friends. I never needed a friend. You and I speaking again, we deep in pretend. Remy, a leaf in the wind. Touch me, I'm reaping in sin. No friends. Hatred is easy to sense. You see it between us and dip. I'm weak and I said, silence is me in a flinch. Teeth and I geek over red. No friends. I hit the piece in the bins. I'ma go peek in the bins and tweaking the end. Can't even sleep in my bed. The demons they preach at the head. No friends. Attempt to relay what I said. A lame hear my name and instead they rip me to shreds. That's just the way that it gets. My pain is my pain, no regrets.
I can't even dip out the house. Friends used to say to come out. Now it's a smaller amount. I'm alone, but I don't wonder how. But then she pulled up unannounced. Blew her back out on the couch, and then I pulled out. That shit just ended the drought. I feel like I'm starting to scream, I get mad if I shout. Running this shit out. Every word that I say is what I'm about. Don't believe me, come find out. The last one to talk about us is yet to be found. Sat in the class in a slouch, acting like Oscar the Grouch, just waiting to sprout. Dropped to the bank on the cloud. Shit, now I'm asking for more, but then withdrawals allowed. But wait for me, if I die, don't pray for me. If I go to hell, then I'm coming back, and I'm looking further, just playing button. Rappers out, but they don't say nothing. You can look, but no way touching. Need some Listerine from my potty mouth, cause Lord knows that I stay cussing. You grind, but I'm hungrier. I'm starving till my stomach hurts. I'm still depressed, so don't get it wrong, but the skies look a little sunnier. I'm a joke, well, you're funnier. Test your luck, cause I'm luckier. Don't push weight, still making gains. Guess that's why I'm looking bulkier. Ayy.
No friends, no friends, no friends, no friends, no friends, no friends. No friends, no friends, no friends, no friends, no friends, no friends. I never needed a friend. You and I speaking again. We deep in pretend. Read me a leaf in the wind. Touch me, I'm reaping in sin. No friends. Hatred is easy to sense. You see it between us and dip. I'm weak and I said silence is me in a flinch. Teeth and I geek over red. No friends. I hit the piece in the bins. I'ma go peek in the bins and tweaking the end. Can't even sleep in my bed. The demons they preach at the head. No friends. Attempt to relate what I said. A lame hear my name and instead they rip me to shreds. That's just the way that it gets. My pain is my pain, no regrets and no friends.
And that was No Friends by the R.A.M. with a group called Rappers Anonymous. And the R.A.M. is an artist who's performing at Yesfest, specifically on Friday. It's 5 p.m. when we're going to be doing, or I guess they're going to be doing some sort of like a rapper showcase at the Art Museum stage at 5 p.m. on Friday, July 27th. So if that catches your fancy, he's
so come out and be R.A.M.'s friend. I'll be his friend.
He's a cool guy. He needs more friends. He has friends.
Everybody needs more friends.
There you go. Speaking of friends, one of my friends, Melo.
Oh my gosh, you're never gonna get that
I know,
right.
I'm never gonna get that. Melo,
Sorry, Melo.
I am so sorry. But one of your songs is up next.
That's gonna be dope.
Yeah, she's
she's
go
awesome.
over it. Yeah,
she's a sweetheart and just like a beautiful soul, and it comes out in her lyrics and rapping and her flow, and it's just always a good jam.
It's always a good
this new
time.
one is really good.
Yeah,
I'm liking some of the production stuff they did on it.
Exactly. It's
fun.
motivational. It is powerful, and it is Melo, the generational hero. Let's take a listen on WRC 88.7 FM.
Melo, the shiro. Let's get it. Copy, no copy. They never give me no credit. They never give me no copy. They never give me no copy. So I'ma take it. They will never give me my props. Nope. Afraid that I will take their spot. The effort that I make is outstanding. Nope, they will never ever give me credit. So I get to the cheese, the cheddar and the feta. Sea full of sharks, and I am just a better. Give me a beat or I can flow a cappella. I'm still progressing, yeah, the flow gets better. The flow gets sicker, colder than winter. Still running to the money, y'all is just sprinter. I'm blind to the bullshit, but I got a vision. Different from these rappers, I'm on my own division. I stunt, I ball, I am the shit. I remind them every time so they cannot forget. Verses at the verses, put them in the hearse, it's a hit. I'm a ill like the gills, that's on the fish. Don't copy or edit, just give me my credit. All you rappers, I'm pathetic. I'm hopping to the money like a bunny, aiming to the lettuce. Don't copy or edit, just give me my credit. All you rappers, I'm pathetic. I'm hopping to the money like a bunny, getting to the lettuce. When the paper and pen battling, who do I defend? They was once friends, but that paper turned from Benjamins. Now everybody criticize, but fail to realize that the brain and mastermind that dreams and fantasize. All these stories, everyone else wants the glory. Used to ignore me, now my diamonds so legitimate glory. So you can check my resume in credentials. I'm a leader, everything I do is influential. Now you a real friend and watching my page. Don't like it, share, but I don't care, cause we not in the race. Success don't come for everyone long as you work at a pace. Niggas fool, so I do my own thing. Learn to separate when they start to hate. Goddamn, I'm just trying to be great. I learn to separate when they start to hate. Goddamn, I'm just trying to be great. Don't copy or edit. Just give me my credit. All you rappers, I'm pathetic. I'm hopping to the money like a bunny, aiming to the lettuce. Don't copy or edit. Just give me my credit. All you rappers, I'm pathetic. I'm hopping to the money like a bunny, getting to the lettuce. I see my childhood friends in the street. See your niggas don't even speak. They'll never say I did good, and they'll never say I did great. Why you haters can't relate? Album dropping soon, please say the date. Album dropping soon, please say the date. No Lil Wayne, but I'm sorry for the wait.
That was Melo, the generation hero. And if you want to hear her and be inspired and just have a good old jam, check her out as well. I am a nerd.
Jolly jam. Come
If
and
you
join us at Yesfest.
on July 27th at 5 p.m. Art Gallery stage. Be there or be a square. Finally,
No one wants to be a square, Johnny. Get your bum down to the show.
I mean, yeah. You're good.
Who do we got?
Our final person to showcase before our feature interview with Lemon Knife
Feature.
Woo! Is Crystal Killers, stepping a little bit more into the rock punk that we're about to experience of Lemon Knife. Crystal Killers is a band from the south side of Chicago, 4-piece Latinos, and they are awesome, rocking and having a good time. I'll just let the music speak for itself. This is Coming Down from the Calm, their EP, and this is a title track, Chicago, on WRSC 88.7 FM.
True, all that I can say is I was told to stay away. You were known for so much pain. All that I can say is I was told to stay away. You were known for so much pain. Hey. If you read a list of all the things you missed, would it say? If you read a list of all the things you missed, would it say something deep down inside? Whoa, 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 whoa.
Want to shuffle up your music selection? Head on over to www.wrsc887fm.com and listen to some new tunes brought to you by WRSC's Elmhurst College Rock Variety.
I take that back. I redact that. That sounds stupid.
Yep. With that and with that little conversation.
Welcome
we are
back, everybody.
back on air. Yep. We just listened to Crystal Killers, who are going to be performing at Yesfest at, I think, Sunday, July 29th at 1 p.m. That's their time slot. So if you're interested in their music, you should search them up on, bless you,
Sorry,
on
it was
Spotify.
violent.
But not as violent as the
Crystal
Killers.
Oh, yeah, somebody fire us.
Well, anyway, we are here tonight with our first interview of the night. A band that's also going to be at Yesfest, a band that has a very interesting name and only 2 members. This is Lemon Knife. Hello. Can you guys introduce yourselves? And I don't know who wants to go first.
All right, I suppose I'll go first. My name is Mia Blixt. I am the frontwoman, bassist, vocalist, occasional guitarist of Lemon Knife. I do the music composition bit.
Ooh, fun.
That's awesome.
I'm John Moore. I'm the drummer, lyricist, and occasional vocalist of Lemon Knife whenever we want to drive more people away.
Why do you say
I'm not
that?
the only vocalist now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's just kind of she is kind of like the melodic person, and I kind of have some more of the like punky songs, less of a, more of a growl or something to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you want everybody to get a little extra angry.
Mhm.
Yep.
It works well, yeah.
Yeah. I have a
works
perfect
well, yeah.
song actually to showcase that. So let's just jump right into it because that's a good segue. Do you guys mind if we start with a song of yours so the audience gets a chance to hear like what your kind of style? I picked out the first song to be Black Sight because you guys are both singing on it.
We were going to say that if you
Yeah,
did
we
not.
were just
Yes.
saying. If there-
Yeah.
Nice.
Sweet. So let's take a listen and let's dive head into Lemon Knife with Black Sight on WRC.
Fight flames with fire, towers burning now.
It may be cool, but I suppose it's not unusual.
I'll teach you what no one knows.
I know you would, but are you a hawk or a vulture?
Slap in the clouds, fight loud.
Bugaboo is all I see. Bugaboo is all I see.
We need to make sure this never happens again. We are watchful eyes in the secret bay. We do not blink or sleep, and nor do they. You want the harvest, but hate the seeds.
About to find some better fruit, but now they are choking me.
Underwater, the facts are clear.
It's all it means to an end and how the ends to demand.
Now turn that dial and ask again.
Where's the fucking London crowd? Nobody can hear them scream.
We need to make sure this never happens again. We are watchful eyes in the secret bay. We do not blink or sleep, so nor do they.
great.
And that was
Black
Black
Site.
Site by Lemon Knife on WRSC 88.7 FM. Lemon Knife is the band we have in studio with us today. And actually, Dan, I don't know, do you want to continue that conversation that you guys were doing really quickly on air?
We're having a conversation?
Yeah, about like lyrics. Because when we asked you to introduce yourselves, but when we asked you to introduce yourselves, you guys specifically pointed out,
yes,
I do music composition and I do lyrics. And
yeah, I was raising the question of why that came to be. And if you guys could just elaborate on air, I think that'd be a cool dynamic that you guys have, if you want to share that.
Well, I know, like, for example, when I was younger, I would do a lot of things like just kind of playing around with various musical things, almost just like as a way to like get the lyrics out there for things like I would have a history class assignment and I would write like lyrics to some song type thing for it instead of the project. But I was like, I just had my like drums. I didn't really play any other instruments, so it was kind of like no way to have any actual listenable music come out of it. But then kind of like, so then working with Mia, it's like, it's great because it's kind of like the songs sound really good musically, and then it can kind of also have like the lyrics in there as well.
Absolutely. And then for my half, the reason I kind of handed over, or not handed over exactly, but, I'm willing to, let John write these excellent lyrics that he comes up with. For me, it was sort of a different language. I always had more of a tendency to write melodies and riffs and chord progressions than words. And a lot of people would try to encourage me, being a girl who was trying to learn guitar at the time before I got to bass, do folk songs, do these Taylor Swift type things. And I'm like, I don't really want to do the Taylor Swift type things.
yeah.
But I didn't really know how to solo either. So a lot of people expected, metal solos from me otherwise. So I was like somewhere in between. But I liked riffs, I liked melodies.
Yeah, like with a lot of the vocals, you'll give me the vocal melody and
Exactly.
like the meter of it or number of syllables, and then I'll kind of write lyrics to fit that.
Exactly. Yes. And so sometimes a word association, he'll toss me, play Avalanche, and I'll very briefly come up with a
Black
that is
Site
Black Site,
came
actually.
from
That's
just
right.
Avalanche.
Yes.
Huh.
So that's our
Like
typical
the
songwriting
riff
process.
is avalanche.
It's
or-
just for me, it kind of translated in my head, which is a whole other story. I'm also a synesthete. So for those of you who don't know at home, synesthesia is a crossing of the senses in the brain.
Is
So
that when
for
you
me-
see colors
Exactly.
associated with certain notes?
Exactly. I
That's
have it with
cool.
any senses, but for me, I hear some concept or a melody, and it kind of goes both ways. I hear a word and
Okay.
I can turn it in sort of a what kind of sounds like an avalanche, in a riff form.
Very
So it's hard to
cool.
explain, but
No, that's super
Yeah, it's
dope.
like really cool.
And you guys sound like you're like kind of a well-oiled machine with the idea of like, you don't want to trade off your instrumental parts and your lyric parts. How long have you guys been as a band? And can you guys explain your origin story a little bit?
Yeah, everyone needs a Marvel origin story.
Yes.
a Marvel origin story. We started jamming. We knew each other beforehand.
About a
quite
year and
well,
a half
yes.
ago. Yeah.
And we are also, we don't want to go into this too much on stage. We're also in a relationship, quite a committed one. And it was before the band.
Yeah,
so,
that came before the band. It
Yes,
was
to make all
kind of
everything clear. So we were like, hey, let's jam sometime, because we both really loved music to death, and I happened to learn he was a drummer, and he learned that I was various stringed instruments, and
It was kind of a reverse White Stripes in a way, because she was already in another band and she had like played with a lot of groups, whereas like I knew how to drum, but I hadn't really like been in any bands. So it was kind of, she was like, we should practice sometime, and I was like pretty worried about that, but then it was like it went well, and then after a couple months of jamming covers of like Muse and Cake and various things,
many things.
we like wrote our first original song kind of together from some riffs she had lying around, and then we kind of came up with the words together and just pieced it together, and it's like, oh wow, this song is really good, we should write more of
let's
them.
keep doing it. Yeah, exactly. If we have the chemistry, let's keep it that way.
Right.
And the
Roll with
bass
it.
idea, I was originally going to bring a guitar, and then it was like, well, something's kind of missing here, and I always attribute this. Later on, I heard this band Royal Blood, and they are
yeah.
a bass drums duo with a very similar setup, more effects pedals than I have, but I digress. And it was
Yeah,
oh,
well, he
wait.
makes his bass sound like
multiple instruments.
Yeah, he does.
And so I should
many
learn to do
things
this.
with that
Let me try
bass.
bass instead.
Yeah. Nice. Very cool. So you guys decided on the name Lemon Knife just because you like citrus and killing things? I don't know.
It was sort
That's
of a
a-
conversational inside joke at first. you
Yeah,
know?
it was just something from one of our earliest like dates, and then it was kind of like, oh, it's like a nice, short, catchy name. No one else has taken it. Let's just go with Lemon Knife.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing is that nobody's taken it. Finding that quality in a name is like, oh, does this sound somewhat decent and hasn't been taken yet?
Put it in the
Cool.
registry.
Yeah,
yes.
there's
Yeah.
Right away, let's trademark this.
We'll know we've made it when Search for Lemon Knife turns Lemon Knife up before. I think there's a song by the Wombats with
Lemon to a
Lemon and
Knife
Knife
Fight,
in the
yes.
name that currently is the main result when you search that on
Lemon Knife
YouTube
Band,
or
yes.
Spotify.
Nice.
Oh no.
So you guys are a fairly new band, but you have a song or you have an album out already called Songs of Water and Death. And that's where Black Site is on if you guys are listening at home and are interested. So before we play more songs from the album, can you explain the album title a little bit and the concept? Because it looks like, as we were kind of scrolling through the lyrics of this album, they all tell to be centered and around some sort of story, specific story thing. Is this a concept album or is this more of like a individual story
Yeah,
album?
just from the name, I got like water is this cleansing thing.
The title of
this
the
rebirth
sorry.
thing, and then death is. No, continue.
Yeah, continue.
The title of the album is actually a throwback to a Talking Heads album. Songs about building and food. Is that
Yeah,
right?
there's
More
the
songs
album,
about
more
building.
songs about
yes.
things of food. So it was kind of like a tongue-in-cheek reference to that, and also the fact that I realized just kind of after we'd written a few songs, I was like, wait, almost all these songs have someone dying, and a lot of them have water. Like there's one about sharks, like a
Exactly.
feast near the ocean. There's like Lost at Sea, about like a ship that's lost at sea.
Lots
There's
of drowning. Yes.
Oh yeah, there's Girl with the Cat Eyes about someone who drowned. So it's kind of like even both of
Go with
those
it.
are in the are kind of in the lyrics prominently. So it's kind of like a fun name for it.
Exactly. Yes.
But I would say it's kind of more like a bunch of unrelated stories, kind of as opposed to them being connected or necessarily any kind of big concept in mind. It was kind of just. Some of it was like lyrical ideas that I had laying around. Some of it was just kind of things they came up with based on the riff or the melody or something like that. And I don't know, probably a good amount of like Decemberist influence in terms of like lyric writing.
Nice. I was gonna say, you guys have the lyrics are very well written. It's very like, it's
Thanks.
like a storytelling thing. And I love this Decemberist, so shout out.
Oh, yes.
I love the Decemberist.
Absolutely.
Cool. So let's dive into a little bit more music then, just because we have a limited time today and I want to get through some more of your tunes. So we started with a song that has a lot of contrast in it. Your voice, Mia's voice, with a more punk John's voice. So let's maybe take that apart and start with one and the other. So let's do Girl with the Cat Eyes for Mia's voice. And this is, let's just take a listen.
Body is found cold on a day. Rivers hardly swell. I get a call, 8:25. She wrote my name, then fell. Girl with the cat eyes, that's what she said. Only 5 words in the end. Girl with the cat eyes, what could it mean? Haven't seen
to the scene folks wanna meet. Surreal as all hell. Met her at camp, swore we would write. Not much story to tell. Girl with the cat eyes, that's what she said. Only 5 words in the end. Girl with the cat eyes, what could it mean? Haven't seen her since 14. Was I a dream? Was I escape? Or was I the cell? Does she wait for me to join her under the water spell? Girl with the cat eyes, that's what she said. Only 5 words in the end. Girl with the cat eyes, what could it mean? Haven't seen her since 14. Girl with the cat eyes, I hear you calling my heart, my soul falling. Girl with the cat eyes, girl with the cat eyes. Girl with the cat eyes, girl with the cat eyes.
And that was Girl with the Cat Eyes by Lemon Knife, who we are talking with in studio today, for those of you just tuning in, whether online on WRSC 887 FM or on FM airwaves on 87.7 FM. We thank you for listening in. So that song kind of shows, I think, one half of your guys' big like contrast. You're a band of like two dynamics almost. It's like really powerful punk and this more melodic kind of I don't know, guys. I personally hear a lot of like 80s goth like kind of influence
Yeah, I
coming
hear
out
it.
of it.
About it,
I
but,
know.
Uh-huh.
I don't listen to a lot of 80s goth, but I still hear it.
Well, I don't know.
What kind of bands are you thinking of when
I'm
you say
thinking-
80s goth?
Well, I mean, only Susie and the Banshees really is my biggest one because
Wow, big list.
Hey, I
That
mean,
proves a point.
yeah, that's true.
Certainly.
But, just or maybe 80s goth is the wrong word, but this idea of a female vocal that has like this almost like we were talking about behind the scenes, not necessarily like a huge octave range, but like a huge emotional intensity range. And the folky, almost your jumps are kind of like folky with like the uncertain vibrato. I was wondering if you could maybe talk at all about what were your influences, your singing influences, and how do you, as somebody who doesn't write the lyrics, and we talked about this before, get into character and perform the songs that you create?
Well, it was sort of a kind of construction of elements. So it was almost sort of a unexpected chain of events. So for a while there, I was trying to sing, the people want you to sing, which a lot of focus in a lot of vocal music is big ranges. If you don't have a 6-octave range, from what I heard in the circles, you're not really a singer or what
Yeah.
have you. And so for me, it was like, well, I whatever 2.5 octave range or something with the like. I must be completely average. So I kind of thought about it, and I'm like, this range isn't stretching anymore, but I'm not really sure I should keep singing, you know?
Yeah.
Or either that or I sing folk songs, which I don't really want to sing, which I mentioned earlier people wanted me to do, which wasn't something I wanted. But then I started picking up distorted bass. I heard bands like Muse, who Matt Belamy is this very expressive, vibrato-filled.
Very much so.
Yeah.
I always like to say I'm a graduate of the Matt Belamy School of Vibrato, you know, close to the end.
Nice.
But,
Yeah, nice.
I like that school.
absolutely. And folks like, and then kind of building from there, you have people who don't really have great ranges but have great versatility. Another weird example is Queens of the Stone Age, actually. So Josh Homme, I never really know how to pronounce. I don't think anyone does.
It changes
Yeah.
depending on
Changes by the day.
depending on
He's
what
more known
moon
for
is in the sky.
He's more known for guitar riffs and general guitar madness and masterminding and riffs. I already said riffs, but I do need to say it again because riffs. But his voice, it's developed over the years and it's kind of grown more. Sometimes it's sassy, sometimes it's, you know, somber. So you kind of get into the characters of these folks, and that's what I'm trying to do. Instead of to make up for a missing technicality, I get into character and use emotional intensity to kind of make up the difference and make people feel what the song is, regardless of how many notes I'm using, I suppose.
Do you have any musical background at all? Or
I do, yeah. Besides bass, I play a few other instruments: guitar, piano, mandolin, ukulele.
oh wow.
Starting to learn a bit of drum kit.
Have you ever taken formal lessons on any of those instruments, or studied music in any kind of like educational setting? Or is it all just, you know, self-taught?
I very, very briefly took piano lessons, or that was my main. Well, I very briefly took guitar lessons. I was sort of classically trained in piano, but I stopped after a bit. I stopped playing piano
As
after a bit,
everyone
and
does,
kind of got back to
Yeah.
it. Everything else is pretty much self-taught. Yeah.
Nice, very cool. And what about John? What do you do? You have any background?
I took flute lessons for a while, but
No
and
way.
they would say like your breathing is wrong, your tone is wrong, but your rhythm is great. And so it kind of like I actually took up drums mainly through the like Rock Band video games. Like I started with Guitar Hero, then I was playing Rock Band. I was playing like a lot of it. And then right after I'd been playing it for a couple of years, my grandparents were moving to a smaller house. They asked my parents, "Do you guys want our drum kit?" So I was like, perfect. And so I actually like mainly still like keep in practice a lot through like the Rock Band games and that type of thing. Because we don't kind of like have a kit, or, you know, we're in an apartment. And so I'm kind of self-taught and or video game taught in drums. And that's kind of the only instrument I really play much of.
Nice. So speaking of your instrument, let's transition to a song that has a little bit more of your instrument, more showcasing the kind of punky stuff of the band. So this is going to be American Desert. Is that
Not dessert.
Yeah, Desert. Yeah, I just
Yeah, one
yeah.
S.
There's a 1S on that one. Here we go. Here's American Desert on WRC 88.7 FM.
The vultures gather, the desert sun is high. I think I'd rather kill you than let you just die. American desert, American desert. You made these badlands, you let them turn to waste. Smiling glad hand, so your work will be erased. American desert, American desert. You got a trust fund, you covered all your bases, but that won't help none. Ain't no goddamn oasis. American desert, American desert.
a band before they get popular? Tune into the Underbelly Hours, Sunday nights at 6 p.m. on WRSC 88.7 FM, and discover the best of local unsigned musicians. Don't miss out on the next big thing.
Alrighty, folks. So you just listened to American Desert, not dessert, by Lemon Knife on WRSC 87 FM.
Not lemon dessert. Either.
Not lemon dessert either. Not citrus knife, or citrus killer, which is what I always want to say because we played Crystal Killers earlier. But I digress. So we just heard another side of this interesting, cool band. This is a lot more punk. So I was wondering if you can maybe speak to, I'm guessing, or which of you wrote that song, I guess. And
That's basically all him, yeah.
Okay.
I think, I think you came up with the riff, or maybe it was first like, let's write a punkier one.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of like, you came up with the
You had the beat in mind beforehand, I remember, and so you had me write a riff to that kind of in real time. And we
Okay.
didn't have lyrics yet. I distinctly remember something about hippos being
Okay.
the holding spot, I suppose.
Yeah, because I think at that point, at that point we had done a couple songs, and all of them were Mia on lead vocals. I was like, I wonder, it'd be interesting for like me to try out like singing something, or rather yelling something. And so we kind of I was like, okay, it should probably be a more punkish one if I'm not going to have that much of a melody to my voice.
It's still an incredible attribute to have, though, because I would never be able to, get the gnarl that you need to pull off those songs, but I still want to communicate that through a bass line or what have you. Sometimes the vocals don't match the bass line, so that's where John comes in, really, when he, gives his punk spiel as kind of the Beastie Pistols, I suppose you could say.
Okay.
New supergroup name. And
Nice.
Tribute bands, take note.
So the punk just was a accident? Like there's just the idea of like screaming, or was it like, are you more heavily influenced by punk music?
I would say I'm kind of like like a lot of my like all-time favorites wouldn't necessarily be punk. Like my top few would be something like the Talking Heads and Modest Mouse, so kind of like almost more alternative rock. But I kind of like, I've listened to like a good amount of punk. It was almost like the punk came out of a combination of the restriction of like, I wasn't sure whether my voice would work as like a pure like melodic song, and then also it's kind of like, let's add something with some more kind of energy. Like one artist I like a lot is Frank Turner, and one of the things I really liked about him was kind of his shows would always have the combination of like, there were these kind of like folksier sing-along songs, and then there were also like, he would go from kind of like a like sing-along song to like everybody in a mosh pit. So it was kind of like the combination of being able to like have the lyrics be a focus, but also have this like tons of energy. So I wanted to kind of like get some of that into Lemon Knife.
Cool. And speaking of lyrics, you have, apart from this theme of water and death, you just seem to have like a really interesting, like powerful, I don't know if you guys meant it, but there's like a kind of like a go get 'em, like change the world thing. Like there's a bunch of lyrics as I was looking at your album, because I'm a lyric nerd. I love lyrics to death. And you have some fun ones like, we need to make sure this never happens again is repeated in Black Sight. And then the song that we just heard, American Desert, it's like, you made these badlands, you let them turn to waste.
Yeah.
I'd rather kill you than just let you die. Like there's a lot of powerful sentiments going in to these songs. Is it, do you intend to have like more of a message with these songs, or is it still just a kind of story you're supposed to listen to it and enjoy, not necessarily go out and do something?
Yeah, I mean, I would say probably, if we recorded, if we were starting it, 5 years ago or something, it would probably be more of the pure storytelling. But then there's also some kind of like release of just like, the kind of anger at current events and that type of thing going into, American Desert, Storm Surge, the kind of more political ones on the album. Like we're working on another album that'll probably be even more kind of political or angry or kind of than the first one is here.
Especially in light of not speaking terribly in partisan terms, but in light of current climate, not necessarily under whatever administration you choose, but just the general tension amongst the public. Speaking for myself, a lot of the reason, a lot of the reason I click so well with John's lyrics is that I've grown up in a few situations, not going into too much detail, where I sort of ended up as sort of a misfit in many situations. You know, you try to join a feminist cause, for instance, while you're a librarian. You know, you can't do that. We don't want girls' clubs here. Or you try to be. I was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder in infancy, but you can't be that either because you don't like numbers. You know, you're not abnormal enough for that. So no matter what kind of cause I try to join, from my experience, I never quite fit in for whatever reason. And so some of the songs, in particular things like Cold Burn or Thirst, those are things that sort of reflect, for me as I deliver it, sort of this is society. Why is society so focused on, you know,
Categories.
Conformity, if you will, and labels and putting people into bins based on whatever, you know, race, gender, disability, number of polka dots on their shirt, what have you. Sort of, why is that?
50's the max.
Exactly.
50's the max. Any more than that, it's not polka dot. You're just trying too hard.
Yes.
Resident polka dot enthusiast here.
I prefer stripes, thanks.
Get out of my station.
You're wearing stripes.
Hypocrite.
Yeah, that's
so-
what I am.
That's very so you guys don't really necessarily have, you guys are just reflecting your current climate is what you're saying with the lyrics more than like you're not trying to be like the next I don't know oh man, what was their name?
Rage Against the Machine.
I guess in a way.
Like that, yeah.
You know, you're not directly going for like the political
Mixture of both.
Yeah,
Political
I would
punk.
say like
Yeah.
Like
Political
propaganda.
yeah.
Like the hardcore
Yeah, there you
political,
go.
like everything has to be super political.
Yeah, I think we don't want it to. I think kind of like, you know, we don't want everything to be political. Like, it doesn't need to be like, you know, if you're going to see us, like everything will be constantly, you know, reminding you of the terrible situation. But then it's good to have kind of some like, you know, kind of like, you know, if you're not angry, you're not paying attention.
And in my particular experience, even musically, not necessarily just lyrically, but musically, you want sort of an aggressive sound in order to get across that message a little more clearly, especially when you want people to hear what you're talking about, like something contrasting, you know, Rage Against the Machine and say CSN, you know, Crosby, Stills and Nash.
Yeah.
Both were kind of going for the same flair, but one was very acoustic, and one was things you can't repeat on the radio because, well, you're all very, you're all very, you know, upset, and you got to release this stuff, regardless of what society tells you. And sometimes that aggression is kind of the only way to, but both are good because some people need it driven into their heads aggressively, but some people, it registers with the melodies, and if something's softer, it kind of appeals to the heart more. So there's a bit of both.
And some of them are definitely written for very specific kind of things. You know, like Black Site, it's about, you know, like torture. It's written, I think, the week that, you know, Gina Haspel was nominated for CIA person after kind of all that stuff. And so it's kind of meant to have like a double meaning to that. We need to make sure this never happens again, because it's kind of like we're like two characters in there. Like Mia is like experienced CIA person, kind of like bringing me into the system. And so at the start, like, we need to make sure this never happens again is like, you know, we need to do this stuff to make sure this type of attack never happens again. And then at the end, my character is starting to be like, oh, I'm not okay with this. And it's kind of turning into more like, we need to make sure this, like, torturing people never happens again.
And we're saying the same thing, the same line, but it means different things to each of us, or
Very
each of our
cool.
characters, I suppose, where I'm sort of the torturous, I don't know, teacher, chief, I don't know. I don't really know. Torturous teacher. There's another band name. And he's sort of,
Torturous
you know,
teacher and the rulers.
And the rulers.
he's sort of the student, the submissive student. I don't know. I'm trying to alliterate.
Yeah.
Sort of developing his own mind throughout the song, and once he gets into it, it's like, maybe I don't really want this to happen again, but I don't want this to happen again.
Well, your character is being like, you know, you want the harvest but hate the seeds.
Exactly.
And then the apprentice becomes the master.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's always two.
Nice. So that's
Wars
actually
reference.
very interesting. It's actually just watching you guys go on a tangent, like that. No, it kind of brings back the whole point of contrast again. So, going back to that, since we only have 2 more minutes, or maybe 5 more minutes left for your interview.
Sure.
Why do you guys choose to be these kind of 2 contrasting ideas in your own music, where you have like 2 sides? We let those listeners listen to your more calm side and your more punky side. Why do you go for that balance as a band? What makes it desirable?
It's never really anything we thought of consciously, I suppose. But I could see it sort of being appealing to as many people as possible. I was kind of getting at earlier with, you have your in-your-face Rage Against the Machine delivery, or your more subtle but softer to many people delivery. And if you have something to say, you want to reach as many people as possible. So some people are going to think differently. It's sort of a multiple intelligences sort of deal. Some people are more book-brained, street-brained, musically-brained, sports-brained.
Yeah.
And people can take the same information but digest it in very different ways. So you want to reach as many people as possible, and that takes multiple deliveries. That's how I would take it, I think.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I would say kind of like we're both also kind of very short attention span people, so it's kind of like we like as many different things happening as possible. Like either seeing someone live or seeing anything like that, it always seems like kind of a better show when there's kind of a lot of different things happening, or kind of like it's not all just kind of one long like Coldplay marathon or something.
Playing Coldplay. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Okay. Very, very interesting. Nice. So on your way out, because we only have about 30 seconds left of your interview, I wish we could talk to you guys more. What would be a good song to close out with this segment?
How about Lost at Sea is
First
ours.
song we ever
That's
wrote,
the
so-
first
Okay.
song we wrote, yeah.
Let's do that.
Sweet. And if you like Lemon Knife, you can find them on. Actually, I'll let you guys plug. Where can you find you guys? What do you got coming up?
Sorry. We are on Facebook, facebook.com/LemonKnife, very aptly named. And we are on YouTube. Most of all, though, we are on Bandcamp, lemonknife.bandcamp.com, where you can find most of the material. But we also
Find all the lyrics there and download the album. But then we're also on most of the other internet things like Spotify,
iTunes.
Amazon, Google,
this
Apple.
thing, Deezer, or whatever that is. Yes.
Yeah.
All
Some
those
of-
like random ones that
Exactly.
you get through DistroKid, where it's like, what is this?
Okay, sweet. And if you guys are interested in Lemon Knife in general, they'll be performing.
Oh,
My phone just fell. Don't worry about that.
The phone's reminding you time's up.
Yeah. Nice. They will be performing at Yesfest 2018. That's going to be happening July 27th through 29th. For more info, visit Yesfest at facebook.com. And we're leaving you with
Lost
Lost
at Sea.
by Lemon Knife on WRSC.
That works.